Gold! Gold! The word echoed through the crisp morning air, a single cry that would ignite a frenzy and forever alter the course of American history. In that moment, hope and greed collided, and the world seemed to hold its breath. The cry rang out in Seattle, 1897, as the steamship Portland arrived from the icy wilds of Alaska. The city, still waking from its slumber, was about to be swept up in a tidal wave of excitement and anticipation. The city's routine shattered as men staggered off the ship, their bags bursting with gold. The sight was almost unbelievable. Ordinary men transformed by fortune, their faces weathered but triumphant, their pockets heavy with the promise of a new life. One prospector, unable to contain his excitement, held up a pouch and shouted, "Gold!" And the news spread like wildfire. Within minutes, the docks were alive with shouts, laughter, and the feverish energy of possibility. The Seattle Post-Intelligencer rushed to print, "Gold! Gold! Gold! A ton of gold!" The presses thundered through the night, churning out headlines that would electrify the nation. Newspapers sold out within hours, and the story leapt from street corners to parlors, from whispered rumors to front-page news. These men had left for the Yukon poor and returned as millionaires. Their tales of hardship and sudden wealth fueled the dreams of everyone who heard them. The gold they carried was more than metal. It was hope, crystallized and shining. Seattle erupted. People abandoned jobs, shops closed, and crowds surged to the docks. The city's heartbeat quickened as thousands scrambled to secure passage north, desperate not to miss their chance at fortune. The gold fever wasn't just local. Days earlier, the Excelsior had docked in San Francisco with its own gold-laden miners. The news leapt from city to city, igniting a wildfire of excitement along the West Coast and beyond. Telegraph wires carried the story across America, reaching cities gripped by economic hardship. In an era before radio or television, the telegraph was the lifeline of information, and every click and buzz brought new hope to desperate ears. The panic of 1893 had left families desperate. Now, Alaska promised a miracle. For many, the gold rush was not just a chance for wealth, but a lifeline out of poverty and despair. The nation, battered by years of economic depression, clung to the hope that the North held salvation. The idea of instant wealth and adventure swept the nation. Newspapers, word of mouth, and telegraph messages painted Alaska as a land where fortunes could be made overnight, where the impossible suddenly seemed within reach. Clerks, farmers, teachers, all dreamed of striking it rich in the North. People from every walk of life, from city dwellers to rural laborers, began to imagine themselves as prospectors, their lives transformed by a single lucky strike. They pictured themselves returning as heroes, pockets heavy with gold. Families imagined reunions filled with joy and prosperity. Children dreamed of new toys and warm homes, and communities hoped for a future rebuilt on newfound wealth. The Klondike Gold Rush had begun, sparking one of the greatest migrations in American history. Tens of thousands packed their belongings, braved the unknown, and set out on a journey that would test their courage, endurance, and hope. The nation, gripped by gold fever, turned its eyes to Alaska. Maps were unfurled, routes plotted, and every conversation seemed to circle back to the promise of gold in the frozen north. The promise of gold was more than a rumor. It was a siren's call. It beckoned to the dreamers, the desperate, and the daring, offering a chance to rewrite their destinies with a single lucky find. For thousands, it was a chance to escape poverty and start anew. The journey would be perilous, the odds long, but the hope of a better life was stronger than any fear. The dream of Alaska was irresistible, and the rush was on. Steamships filled to capacity, ticket offices overflowed, and the docks became a stage for the greatest adventure of a generation. The world would never be the same. The gold rush transformed cities, reshaped lives, and left a legacy that would echo for generations. It was a moment when hope triumphed over hardship, and the impossible became possible. Alaska, once a frozen afterthought, was now the land of opportunity. Its wild rivers and rugged mountains called to the bold and the brave, promising riches to those willing to risk everything for a dream. The gold rush had begun, and America would never look back. The gold news ignited a frenzy across America. Headlines screamed of fortunes waiting to be claimed in the frozen north, and the promise of instant wealth captured the imagination of an entire nation. Newspapers sold out as soon as they hit the stands, and word spread like wildfire from coast to coast. In towns and cities, people obsessed over maps and supply lists, plotting their journey north. Kitchens and parlors became makeshift planning rooms, with families and friends huddled over tables, tracing routes and calculating costs. Every conversation seemed to turn to the Klondike, and every day brought new rumors of gold strikes and lucky prospectors. The dream was open to all, no need for wealth or education, just courage, and $1,000 for supplies. It was a rare moment in history when background and social standing seemed to matter less than sheer determination. People from all walks of life believed that, with enough grit and the right equipment, they too could strike it rich. People sold farms, mortgaged homes, and borrowed from friends to chase the dream. Some liquidated their entire life savings, while others took out risky loans, all for a chance at a better future. The gold rush was a gamble, and for many, it meant risking everything they had ever known. Mayors, doctors, and teachers abandoned their lives for a shot at fortune. Storekeepers closed their shops, clerks left their desks, and even seasoned professionals traded their steady jobs for the uncertainty of the trail. The lure of gold was so powerful that it cut across every profession and social class. Women joined the rush too, some as prospectors, others as entrepreneurs, cooks, or business owners like Belinda Mulrooney. They saw opportunity not just in the gold fields, but in the booming towns that sprang up along the way. Women opened boarding houses, ran supply stores, and provided essential services, proving that the gold rush was not just a man's adventure. The fever was unstoppable. Thousands packed up and said goodbye. Tearful farewells played out at train stations and docks, as families parted ways, not knowing if they would ever see each other again. The hope of striking it rich was enough to overcome the fear of the unknown. They became stampeders, racing to the Klondike before the gold was gone. The journey was grueling, over icy passes, through deep snow, and across treacherous rivers. Yet, the promise of gold kept them moving, step after exhausting step. The journey promised danger, but also freedom and a second chance. For many, it was a way to escape poverty, debt, or disappointment. The Klondike offered a blank slate, a place where anyone could reinvent themselves if they were brave enough to try. For many, it was about more than gold. It was hope. The hope of a new beginning, of adventure, and of proving themselves in a harsh and unforgiving land. The gold rush was as much about dreams as it was about dollars. The Klondike became a symbol of possibility for a struggling generation. In a time of economic hardship and uncertainty, it represented the chance to change one's fate through hard work and luck. The stories of those who made it fueled the ambitions of thousands more. The stampede to Alaska was on. Ships, trains, and wagons overflowed with hopeful adventurers, all bound for the unknown. The Great Klondike Gold Rush had begun, and there was no turning back. The journey north was brutal. Stampeders arrived in Skagway or Daya, chaotic towns filled with conmen and thieves. To cross into Canada, each needed a year's worth of supplies. 2,000 pounds hauled over the infamous Chilkoot or White Pass. The Chilkoot was steep and icy. The White Pass, longer and deadly for horses. Many gave up or perished on the trail. Those who survived built boats at Lake Bennett, then braved 500 miles of treacherous Yukon River to Dawson City. Only the toughest reached the goldfields, exhausted but undeterred. The journey itself was a test of willpower and grit. For most, the real adventure had only just begun. Dawson City was not a city of gold, as many had dreamed and hoped for when they set out on their long, perilous journeys north. Instead, it was a city of mud, thick, relentless, and everywhere. The streets were rivers of muck, swallowing boots and wagons alike, making every step a struggle. Stampeders who arrived found not the order and prosperity they'd imagined, but chaos. Cabins and tents were packed tight, with newcomers jostling for space and supplies. Prices for even the simplest things soared beyond belief. By the time most hopeful prospectors finally reached Dawson, exhausted and hungry, the best gold claims had already been snapped up, gone in a frenzy of early arrivals and luck. Latecomers had little choice but to work for wages, often for more fortunate claim holders, or to buy claims at outrageous, sometimes ruinous prices, gambling their last savings on a slim chance. Mining itself was grueling and relentless. Fires had to be built day and night just to thaw the frozen ground, and every shovelful of earth was a battle against nature's icy grip. Every single ounce of gold was hard won, the result of backbreaking labor, sleepless nights, and endless hope. For most, the gold was elusive, but the dream kept them going. Saloons and dance halls became the heart of Dawson City, offering a brief escape from hardship. Here, miners gathered to drink, dance, and forget their troubles, if only for a night. Fortunes were gambled away in a single hand of cards, and prices for food and supplies soared, sometimes to absurd heights. A single egg could cost a day's wages, and simple luxuries became treasures. Every meal was a reminder of the city's isolation and the high price of hope. Yet, despite the hardships, hope and excitement filled the boomtown. The promise of fortune, adventure, and a new life drew people together in a spirit of resilience. Even those who didn't strike it rich found something valuable: adventure, camaraderie, and stories to last a lifetime. Bonds were forged in the mud and firelight. The gold rush was a wild, unforgettable chapter in their lives, a time of struggle and dreams, of heartbreak and hope. They became part of a legend at the edge of the world, their names and stories woven into the fabric of the North. Alaska's promise was real, even if the gold was elusive. For many, the true treasure was the journey itself, and the hope that tomorrow might bring a new beginning. Before gold fever, Alaska was a remote Russian outpost. By the 1860s, Russia's fur trade collapsed, and the territory was a burden. Fearing British invasion, Tsar Alexander II decided to sell. U.S. Secretary of State William Seward saw Alaska's potential and negotiated a deal. $7.2 million for a land twice the size of Texas. Americans mocked the purchase as Seward's folly, a frozen wasteland. But Seward convinced Congress, and in 1867, the American flag was raised in Sitka. For decades, Alaska was ignored. The critics seemed right, until gold was discovered. Seward's vision was vindicated. Alaska became one of history's greatest bargains. The land once dismissed as useless would soon change America's destiny. Alaska's true value was just beginning to be revealed. The Klondike Rush was just the start. Prospectors fanned out, sparking new gold rushes in Nome and Fairbanks. Gold mining built towns and brought lasting change, but Alaska's ground hid more than gold. Massive copper deposits were found near Kennecott Glacier. The Kennecott Mines and a 200-mile railroad brought copper to the world, fueling America's growth. Alaska's reputation transformed from icebox to treasure trove. Railroads, steamships, and government followed, and permanent towns took root. The search for riches never stopped. Silver, lead, zinc, and more were found, but the biggest prize was still hidden beneath the tundra. Alaska's resources would soon reshape the nation again. The spirit of exploration endured. Alaska's riches weren't just underground. The seas teemed with salmon, fueling a booming fishing industry and building coastal communities. But the greatest discovery came in 1968, oil at Prudhoe Bay, the largest field in North America. The Trans-Alaska Pipeline, an engineering marvel, carried oil 800 miles to market. Oil wealth transformed Alaska. No state income tax, annual dividends for residents, and a stable economy. Fishing and oil made Alaska a resource powerhouse. Its fisheries became some of the world's most productive. Oil from Prudhoe Bay reduced America's reliance on foreign energy. From fur to gold to oil, Alaska's natural wealth shaped its destiny. The land of opportunity kept delivering. Alaska's value isn't just in resources, it's strategic. World War II proved this when Japan invaded the Aleutian Islands. The U.S. rushed troops and built the Alaska Highway, connecting the territory to the rest of the country. After the war, Alaska's proximity to Russia made it a Cold War front line. Early warning radar stations and major military bases were built. Today, Alaska remains a cornerstone of U.S. defense. Its bases monitor the Arctic and intercept foreign aircraft. As the Arctic opens, Alaska's strategic role only grows. From forgotten outpost to guardian of the North, Alaska protects America. Its location is as valuable as its gold. Today, Alaska is the last frontier, vast, wild, and inspiring. Its mountains, glaciers, and forests draw adventurers from around the world. The gold rush spirit lives on in the independence and resilience of Alaskans. The state offers opportunity for those bold enough to seize it. Its resources, oil, fish, minerals, remain vital to America. Its strategic location is essential for defense, but Alaska's greatest value is its wild beauty and frontier spirit. It reminds us to dream big and explore. From Seward's folly to national treasure, Alaska's story is one of vision, risk, and reward. The last frontier is a living symbol of America's adventurous soul.